Oh, that's hot. Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hope you're Tuesday? I got my days mixed up there. No, it is Tuesday. Hope your Tuesday has gone well, everyone. Good evening. Bonjour. Buongiorno. Hola. Hello. Welcome, everyone. That is the limitation of the languages, but I know. But welcome, welcome. Yes, day 2 of the shakedown, the private shakedown, the super duper secret shakedown has finished for the day. We had a crash, a first crash of the 2026 season. Very wet day. Only 2 teams ran lap times today, with of course the limit of 3 days out of the 5 that you are able to use this week. So McLaren, we were expecting to see McLaren out there today, but we didn't. So they are going to be running the next 3 days, but it does look like that it could be a rain hit and interrupted rest of the week. So we will see. But I imagine Friday, which I think it looks to be the driest day of the next 3 days, could be a very busy day where we have 10 teams out on track, because Aston Martin are going to be turning up as well, supposedly. Well, they're hoping to turn up. So, but yeah. Evening though, everyone. Evening. Hope you're good. Hey, folk. News to you that teams had a 3-day limit. Yeah. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Some of you would have obviously kept up to date with all the information throughout the day. Some of you would not. So that's absolutely fine. And it's just, I'm at work all day. As I said, still got the day job. So this is an opportunity for me to catch up with you all as well and run through everything that has happened. F1, unlike last night, F1 have now released the highlights of the day of testing. They didn't show that Isaac Hajar crash, so we'll get onto that next, because that's really the big topic of conversation today, is that Isaac Hajar crashed at the end of the session out of the last corner. But they really glossed over it. They went, oh, Isaac Hajar had a little off. Literally in the commentary, they go, Isaac Hajar had a little off in the last corner. Little off. Well, doesn't quite look like a little off to me. Doesn't quite look like a little off to me. That looks like a broken rear wing and probably a broken rear suspension as well there. So fair play to whoever this individual was that got that perfect angle of Isaac Hajar. But yeah, nice to see, of course, that those lights, the hazard lights now on the wing mirrors were working. But he's gone off there. Look, not going to be too critical. We don't know if it was a car mistake. Most likely a driver error, because it was a very wet Barcelona today. Only a few hours in the morning, I think, was dry, which Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen were able to get out there and set some dry times. But yeah, that doesn't look like a little off to me, and I'm disappointed. I think, as everyone is, disappointed that we didn't get to see this actual footage of the crash, because everything is under lock and key, isn't it? And they get to show what they want to show. So evidently Red Bull did not want this to get out. Of course, it got out, and it's a shame that we didn't get to see any footage of this crash. I know people will say, oh, well, less Isaac Hajar, of course, but look, it's a topic of discussion, isn't it? So, yeah, not ideal. They're not sure when he'll be able to get back out there again. Supposedly tomorrow. Red Bull now are the only team that have utilised the 2 days of running this week, of Monday and Tuesday, so they only have 1 more remaining. So they'll want to, no doubt, ensure that they have at least more dry running for Max Verstappen, because he got into the car for the first time today. I do have him there. So it does look very nice, that Red Bull. Of course, a slimmed down version of the Red Bull with those slim side pods. But let's have a look at the lap times for today. Not really too much to take into consideration, but of course, Isaac Hajar yesterday did take the fastest lap that we've seen thus far of the week, which was a 1:18.1, I think it was. In the 1:18s, Max Verstappen did a 1:19.5 in the morning, with Charles Leclerc doing a 1:20.8. Hajar and Hamilton, who drove in the afternoon, only got to drive in wet weather conditions. Of course, Hajar, we just spoke about there with that crash in the last corner. He did 42 laps, a 1 minute 31, and Hamilton a 1 minute 32. So yeah, always pretty much switching between the wet and intermediate compound tyres. But Ferrari did 123 laps today compared to Red Bull's 69 laps. That's over 200 laps now for the 2 days for Ferrari power units in the form of Ferrari today, Cadillac and Haas yesterday, with Esteban Ocon doing 144 laps, I think it was, on his own yesterday. So an obscene amount. That's over 250 laps, actually, I think they've done now. So yeah, an obscene amount of laps that Ferrari have been able to achieve with that power unit. So yeah, definitely reliable. No breakdowns today either, from either Verstappen, Leclerc, Hajar, or Hamilton. Of course, the crash was Hajar's fault. So, conditions look good. Didn't look good. No. Was it wet or was it cornering? Probably just wet. So, if you look at the footage that F1 has posted today, hey, Heraclea. If you look at the footage that F1 has posted today on their channel, it's only like a 4.5 minute rundown of what happened. You'll see that when they're getting their foot down on the throttle, there's lots of, the back end is stepping out a lot. So yeah, of course it's cold out there as well. So it's wet, cold, difficult to warm the tyres up. And of course these cars as well have less downforce than their predecessors in the ground effect era. So yeah, that all combined doesn't provide the grippiest track conditions. So yeah, understandable that there'd be offs. We did see so Max Verstappen, we didn't see it, but there was a brief red flag for Max Verstappen making a trip to the gravel as well. He was able to get going again, so maybe it was just a precaution, and maybe there was gravel out on circuit. There was also, you can kind of see here, this is Lewis Hamilton also having a little excursion in the gravel. So yeah, slippery, very, very slippery conditions. Mid-corner twitch looked mean today, yes, from the footage that we've seen. Yeah, definitely did look it. When they're starting to apply the throttle, you can see that the rear tyres just don't have any temperature in them. But yeah, good news for Ferrari. Really, good news for Ferrari. Good day of running. Charles was happy with the car. I mean, that's a great image. And also, I thought what was very positive as well today, with this wet running, and I'll see if I can find some footage, and it's definitely shown on the F1 official footage, is pay attention to the spray as the drivers are making their way down the start-finish straight, and look at how much more, and we discussed this on Sunday prior to this, where we saw the Haas on the wet Fiorano track, wettish Fiorano track, but this is a proper wet circuit using the wet tyres. Like, the spray is definitely less spread out. It definitely looks like it's going to be more visible and easier to follow, and that's obviously another benefit of the design of these cars, with them being more compact, slightly raised off of the ground, off the track surface, compared to the ground effect era cars. And of course no Venturi tunnels, and that displacing so much water, and the tyres being not as big as well, so less water is being displaced overall. So we will be getting some wet weather racing this year, I believe. Fingers crossed, because it does look positive from the footage that we saw today. But if we head to what Charles has said today, so we're going back to our trusty source of Adam Cooper, who is a long-time F1 journalist. He has not missed an F1 race since Japan 1994. I was born in 1991. He has only missed... he hasn't missed any. Qatar was his 600th Grand Prix. Unbelievable. Over 100,000 followers. One of the reputable journalists and sources of information. So definitely check him out. And he is reporting this week on the interviews. And of course, it's kind of stuff that is reported via F1 at the moment, or via the teams, so it's not necessarily from information that he's gathered himself, but he seems to be one of the only journalists that is kind of doing so, other than maybe the race. But Charles this morning, positive, did seem to have a smile on his face, a very happy, chirpy Charles Leclerc in the interview that I did see of him, and he says Very different to what we've been driving so far. So for now, it's all about trying to understand if everything is working properly. Pretty much what we heard yesterday, rinse and repeat from a number of drivers. Systems check, not about lap times at the moment. He reiterates it's not the best conditions because it's been a little bit raining this morning, but actually we did our program anyway because, again, we're not focused on performance. We're more about looking at all the systems that are new on this car and to see if everything works as it should. And it did, so that's a positive. And then we'll slowly go for our program. He did reiterate, so on this one, doesn't reiterate it here, but I did see the interview itself at the end of the F1 video, but they've posted out, and he did say he's excited about the cars. He's excited to start pushing this car more and see what the other teams are able to do, and he seemed very buoyant, which is always a positive, always a positive. We haven't seen that from necessarily drivers in the past after their first initial experience of the cars. Hey Mike, evening mate. 600 GPs is wild. I know, right? 600, unbelievable. Evening Lubu. Adam posts very good content. He does indeed. Yeah, I've never followed him. I've always seen him pop up, but I've never actually followed him. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like following people on X is not really that relevant anymore because the algorithm always pushes stuff towards you anyway. You've watched all 600 GPs. All I got. Really like him, very balanced views and all. He always has interviews. Yeah, and that's how journalists should be, really. They're fans of the sport, so I appreciate when journalists do give a bit of their opinion on certain matters because they're passionate about it. But they report what the information that they've been able to gather, and that's what journalists should be. So yeah, Chris Medland is another one I always recommend. So yeah, he's definitely someone to follow. McLaren set out today. Understandably, they were supposed to be participating today, but because of that 3-day limit, they will no doubt be participating in the last 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, even if it rains. But no point wasting a day today. So they'll be there tomorrow. Of course, Lando Norris has been pictured at the track as well. Interestingly, I did see in some footage the Aston Martin crew there. So Aston Martin are prepped and ready for their car to arrive. So yeah. Lewis Hamilton, of course, ran this afternoon as well. He only got to participate in wet conditions, guys. So he didn't get any dry running, hence why his lap time was a 1:32.8. And yeah, a little bit slower, a second slower than Isaac Hajar, and similar to what Leclerc and Verstappen's gap was in the morning as well, just over a second. But they were doing systems checks, making sure that everything is familiar to them. And Lewis says he ran the inters, full wets, and then the inters again. And then on the full wets, 57 laps, nearly a full GP length here at Barcelona. It was an intense but productive first day, especially with the mixed weather conditions. We managed to get good mileage on the car and gather a lot of useful information, which is important with such a big regulation change. There were no major issues, and that gives us a solid foundation to keep learning and building over the next days. And similarly to Charles Leclerc, Lewis does seem... he has a smile on his face. Lewis is definitely someone who wears his heart on his sleeve, and you'll know very quickly if things are going well or not with Lewis. He can read a lot by just how his face is and his facial expression. So the fact that he is very smiley, he's very happy, he's excited. He's excited for this regulation change and just what is required to do. It feels like all the drivers are... it feels like the vibe I'm getting from the drivers is that they're all excited about them being able to make more of a difference this year. That's the vibe that I'm getting. Is that they all seem to be... one, they like the cars better. George had an interview and he said you can really feel the weight difference in these cars. You can really feel the size difference in these cars, but they're smaller out on track. And they all seem very positive. They didn't like the ground effect era cars. They were too big, too heavy, too stiff. These are some of the fittest sports people in the world, in any sports you can think about. Like, they are serious athletes, seriously strong. And the fact of that they were coming out of these cars and complaining that their backs were hurting, and these are guys who are fit in their mid-20s, most of them anyway. Of course, Alonso and Hamilton in their 40s now. But even so, like, that wasn't good for the sport, not good for the drivers. Whereas I think instantly there's no porpoising in these cars, of course, and they're not going to be as stiff. And yeah, there's just going to be a lot more enjoyment. I mean, even that picture there, look at that image there. It just looks so much smaller. It's only 10 centimeters narrower, right? But how much smaller does it look? I feel like, is it just me? But I feel like if we looked up an image of the ground effect era cars, last year's car as an example, from a face-on shot in the pit box, I'm pretty sure like it takes up the whole pit area, right? So I feel like we've been had a little bit, and it's more than 10 centimeters narrower. But hey, extremely good to see you. Is this next year body language expert? Stuffeyy tells all. Well, some drivers are better hiding their emotions than others, aren't they? So Laurent Mekies. So Max Verstappen was out there for the first time today in his Red Bull. He thankfully was able to get some dry running, but he was unable to. He didn't participate in the afternoon, and he wasn't able to get a full clear session of dry running. Of course, Isaac Hajar crashing in. We have spoken about Hajar's crash. Yes, we'll talk about it again in a moment. But yeah, he got some decent lap times in. He had his own little off as well. Max Verstappen today into the gravel. We haven't got any footage of that. Apparently, it was only momentary. Did bring out a very short red flag, no doubt, just to relieve the gravel that had been displaced out onto track. But what's very interesting, as I said, with these cars in these wet conditions, in these track conditions where it's very cold as well, was just how twitchy, as we've touched upon already, particularly when you watch it with Max Verstappen, when they're getting their foot on the throttle mid-corner, on the exit of the corner, the rear really does step out. So yeah, lots of car control required now through the corners with these cars, even more so than the ground effect era cars, which were unbelievable cornering ability. Wasn't Max saying his back was hurting all these years? Yeah, he was one of the guys that I instantly thought of when I was talking about the previous cars hurting their backs. So yeah. And you started to see the drivers be more vocal about looking forward to seeing the back of these cars, didn't you, last season at the end of the regs? If you had a side-by-side comparison image of 25 to 26 cars, would be good to see. Yeah, I'm sure there's one online. I'll have a look afterwards. We'll have a look afterwards. Did I see that they've rearranged the Nord 24 hours? Nord 24 hours, so Max can potentially drive it without hitting an F1 race weekend. I did see that, yeah. That makes complete sense because it's good for business. You're going to get more eyes if Max Verstappen is able to race in your event than if not. So, yeah, smart decision by them. Hey, Dusko, good to see you, mate. Good to see you. So, what does Laurent Mekies have to say? It's been on screen for a while, so apologies if you've already read this. But he has said about the RB22 and the Ford PU, the last few months and weeks have been incredibly hectic to be ready. But ultimately, we were ready on Monday morning to run in terms of what we were expecting from the power unit on these first couple of days. I can only repeat how proud we are of everybody back at the base to have managed to give us something that we could actually run with. And of course, it's very early days, and of course, nothing is perfect. But we could run. We could start to learn, work as one team. This was a huge satisfaction. It doesn't change the size of the journey in front of us, but certainly it's the first moment that everybody in MK should be proud of. And I 100% agree with those comments there from Laurent Mekies. They should be proud of themselves because the rumours headed into this season with the Ford partnership was that things were not going well behind the scenes. The rumours were that Ford's introduction with Red Bull powertrains, the first year that they're making their own powertrains, without Honda as well, was that it wasn't looking all good behind the scenes. It's one of the reasons why potentially Max Verstappen and his camp were in discussions with Mercedes as well, because they were like, oh, this is going to be an engine kind of relevance. It's an engine change regulation, and well, if you haven't got a good engine behind you, then there's good luck basically. Good luck. Of course, the aero package, which we always keep mentioning, is still going to be influential. You need both to work in tandem. But if you're going to be, you got the best aero package in the world, but if you're going to be 20 horsepower down, 30 horsepower down on your competitors, then good luck. And I think that was the concerns of the Max Verstappen camp in the middle of last season, of course, with all the Horner shenanigans happening behind the scenes as well. But fair play to them. I mean, they did 69 laps today, and they did over 100 laps yesterday as well. So they've done around 200 laps, I think, as well. Nearly 200 laps in the first 2 days of running. So, yeah, that's not something that I think many would have expected from Ford and that partnership. Hey, Lewis. Who do I think will be the quickest this season? It's still too early to say. Still too early to say. I'm hoping it's a multiple team championship this year. That's what I'm hoping for. But still too early to say. No one has really pushed the limits of their cars yet. We won't see them push the limit of their cars here at Barcelona. The track conditions aren't in a position for them to push the cars. It's too cold out in Barcelona. It takes too long to warm up the tyres. And that's not what this week is for. That will be at Bahrain. We'll see some push laps in Bahrain. But yeah, we're not going to see that here in Barcelona. Will they have problems with that front wing? So I did see something from Scarbs, and he said he got asked a question about this, and he thinks actually it's not going to be an issue with the front wing connections. He knows a lot more than I do. He's a lot more knowledgeable than I am. But I don't know. I still think proof is in the pudding. We'll see. We will see. No one wants to, of course, reveal their connections to the front wing yet. Hopefully we'll get an insight into that as the season gets underway, because I think that would be interesting for a lot of F1 fans to find out how that works. But of course, teams probably don't want to. That's an advantage for if you found a way to connect the actuators and disconnect the front wing in a way that is advantageous to time-wise of replacing it and disconnecting and connecting it again. Then your competitors, you're not going to want to give that information up. But yeah, that's one of the things I am intrigued of, is how long is a front wing change going to take now? You like Mickey's a lot? Yeah, I think he's a lot. I think he's very level-headed. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction for them. Jamming of the front wing, like with the back one in the past, Max in Spain. Yeah, maybe. I actually think, now we've had the first 2 days, I actually think we will probably have more issues reliability-wise with the active aero as the season goes on than we will with the engines. Of course, the engines haven't been properly stress-tested yet, but I think there's going to be some, with damage and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like what if the actuator, obviously the actuator will be hidden most likely under the front nose, but what if you run over something and the actuator gets damaged underneath, and then you can't activate your active aero correctly? Like, it's, I don't know. I just feel like the active aero is where we're probably going to see more reliability issues this year than the engine, from what we've. If the first couple of sessions, the first couple of days that we've had in testing is an indication to go by. It might happen, but I'd imagine you'd build the wing to have the high downforce config, the failure state. Yeah, I mean, then they have that as well, don't they? They've got a fail-safe mode in there. So, we'll get onto Isaac Hajar's crash again in a moment, guys. But Lewis Hamilton, positive about 2026 regs. Just before we read that out, and no DRS anymore. However, do you think it will be possible to corner with the wings open while overtaking? No. So they have mandated that the wings can only be opened, straight line mode can only be opened in designated areas on the track. So there will in effect be zones on the track, more zones than there are than DRS zones, where you will be able to activate into straight mode. Which will open the rear wing, flatten the front wing, and that can be used every single lap. We discovered this the other day. The only time it won't be accessible is when you're going into corner, when you're in the corner, and when there is rain like today. So you'll see on the footage posted by Formula One, like Charles Leclerc and Verstappen and so forth, that the front wing, they can limit the rear wing being opened, and you can have a partial active aero. So the front wing element down the start finish straight was dropping down, which increases the top speed. So yeah, that's what is possible for them, and that's how the active aero is going to be implemented. It'll be quite similar to when F1 first had DRS and the drivers were using it all over the place in qualifying in the race. It was scary. Yeah, so exactly that. They said even they didn't want a do-and-like situation, and they even made reference to that in the explainer that we looked at on the F1 website. So front wing gets a lot more debris than the back wing. Exactly, so we'll see. We'll see. Interesting to see how the active aero plays out. So Lewis Hamilton said in 2020 for the 2026 regs, I don't want to say too much about it just yet because it's difficult to know. I've only driven in the rain and it's a lot less downforce than we had last year, but we don't have the porpoising that we had last year, or at least in 2022 when we started it. So there's definitely positives. It's massively challenging for everybody, for every team, which I think is great. It really puts everyone on the back foot. Everyone's really going to kind of be on their toes and learning as you go. And whoever develops the fastest, whoever is the smartest in optimizing the time and the energy deployment and development will be the ones at the top. And I think this gives everyone a chance to get to the top, which is good. So we are just all hands on deck trying to make sure we maximize it. And that's the interview that I was mentioning earlier, the words that I heard from Lewis, where he was very buoyant, very positive, smile on his face, and the drivers all seem to echo that sentiment as well, where they're really excited about them being able to make the difference with the management system. Some are still, of course, very concerned about the whole management and how is the racing going to play out. Is it just going to be boring with the whole management? But it's a skill, and I think we are going to see some interesting races with it. So can you change the downforce rear wing levels? You can prior to the race. So my understanding is that it's not like there's a set rear wing level and a set front wing level that they're going to take to every single race weekend. It will be like where we head to Monza and they still probably have a skinnier rear wing. However, what the active aero will allow the teams to do now is that, let's say at the likes of Monza, at the likes of Spa, where you made a conscious decision, not so much Monza, but let's say Spa, like what Max did, right? So he ran a low downforce setup, and he was able to get in the lead in that sprint race and hold off the McLarens behind, who ran a little bit more downforce. So they had the pace in the corners, but they didn't have the pace down the start-finish straight, or around the areas where full throttle was required, and they weren't able to have that top speed, even with the slipstream and DRS, to get past Max in that Red Bull, even though he was much slower in the corners. Now, that was primarily due to, of course, even if you were quicker in the corners, it's difficult to overtake because of how influential and impactful the dirty air was. Whereas now, the active aero is going to kind of change it up when it comes to the setup. So if you think of Spa, you will no longer have to sacrifice that cornering ability, because you're going to have areas where the straight line mode is going to be able to be activated, and that is going to give you that extra top speed, that low downforce package, in essence, in the straights, without you having to sacrifice the cornering ability. Now, of course, some will probably still, I think you are still able to tinker with wing levels and so forth from track to track. That's entirely your prerogative, but it's definitely going to make it interesting from the setup perspective there. And these cars should theoretically give off less dirty air as well. So being able to overtake in the corners, and with the whole battery harvesting and the boost mode and all of this, it should hopefully be a nice, perfect soup recipe bowl of overtaking once it's baked in the oven, and interesting races. That's the hope. Some people think it won't. Proof will be in the pudding when it's actually ready come Australia, and not even just not Australia really, but just after probably like half a season, we'll figure out what has been working and what hasn't, won't we? So Sounds controversial, but remember we used to have different gear ratios for each race, and that is no longer the case anymore. Yeah, that was true. Yeah, that was a big, where of course you needed a higher gear ratio when it came to like Monza and Spa, because you're on full throttle for a lot longer. Would it be against teams having to decide the one front and rear wing config for the whole season? It would definitely spice things up a bit. Yeah, it would, Mike. Maybe that's something they decide to do in the future. Depending on how impactful the active aero is, I can definitely see that being a decision for future like implementation in the regulations. It would also help reduce costs. You got to remember, it would help reduce costs as well when it comes to the cost cap and so forth. You don't have to make umpteen amount of rear wings throughout the year with different wing levels and stuff. So yeah, that from that perspective would make the sport more efficient. Of course, updating the actual rear wing design in itself is something that the teams will always do, but the actual creating a Monza specific package, creating a Spa specific package, like Monaco specific package, all of that stuff would help reduce costs overall. So yeah, maybe in the future. It'll be interesting how the F1 26 cars handle on the video games. Probably very poorly, just like every single F1 game. It'll be interesting if the pit stops will be the same time or even quicker. I think they won't be quicker. They'll just be they'll be the same because you're still changing four wheels. But it's the front wing changes that will be something that I'm intrigued to see. I don't think they're going to be as quick because you have to unconnect something and reconnect it, and I'm intrigued to see how quickly it will be. So that's Lewis Hamilton's comments. Very positive after today. I'm not sure if there's anything else from Adam here. Maybe Isaac Hajar has spoken to the media. He hasn't yet. So Isaac Hajar, of course, if you are just tuning in, he did crash today at the end of his test session, right towards the end apparently as well. There was only really probably about 10 laps remaining of the day, and it was out of the last corner. So yeah, a shame for him. He did set, if you're just tuning in, welcome everyone. He did set 42 laps earlier on, a 1:31.891. It was a very wet day at Barcelona, so Hajar and Hamilton, who drove in the afternoon, only did lap times in the wet, on wet tyres or intermediate tyres. And yeah, he did 42 laps. Hamilton did 57, and well, he crashed at the end there. This is his car being removed, covered, and on the flatbed. This is the footage of someone spying from the trees of his car. You can see the zoom here. And that pretty much looks like a rear wing broken, and most likely, if he's gone in backwards, I presume what he's done, probably two things. He's either covered too much curb on the outside and it's lost grip, touched a white line, something of that like, or the rear of the car. We've mentioned about mid-corner on the exit that the rear of the car here, with the cold conditions, with it being wet as well, the rears probably just weren't up to temperature, and the rears probably just went round on him, and he went into it back. Was that mirror lights flashing in this clip? It was indeed. Yes, so there are now lights, flashing lights on the rear view mirrors of the cars, on the front of them. So if you're looking in your rear view mirror, you'll be able to see flashing lights and red in the rain and safety car lights, hazard lights basically, on your Formula One car now. So yeah, I think this is a good addition. I'm actually quite surprised it has taken this long for this to be introduced in the sport. I'm all for it. I think it's going to make visibility much better for the drivers and for us as fans as well. So too much regeneration, braking on the rear perhaps. Look, we're never going to get an answer. We won't get an answer. They didn't even show the crash in the footage of today from F1 on the F1 channel. They just said he had a light off. That's literally what they said. He had a light off. That's not a light off, is it? That's definitely not a light off. That's there's lights on for sure. But yeah, that's definitely, he'll be going through there at quite some speed as well. It's one of the fastest corners on the racetrack. I just presume probably just lack of grip, maybe. Yeah, could be a number of reasons. Predominantly, it's driver error through there, through that corner with those conditions. Maybe he touched a curb, touched a white line. something of the like. Tyre's not up to temperature. Is it true that Ferrari quicker in the wet than the Red Bull? There is no truth to that at all. You cannot take anything into consideration when it comes to lap times this week. The only thing you can do is kind of look at the benchmarks of, okay, Isaac Hajar's time yesterday was a 1:18, and today Max Verstappen in the dry was able to do a 1:19.5, but these teams are all doing just systems checks. They're not pushing at all, and the track conditions here are changing day to day. It's very cold out in Barcelona, so yeah, it's not for that, really. We aren't going to get an indication. We probably won't even get an indication at Bahrain, but we'll see a few push laps in Bahrain, which will make things a bit more enticing for us, and we can pay a little bit more attention to lap times. So yeah, Isaac Hajar off. There isn't any, from my understanding, I don't believe there is any word yet of any interviews from Isaac Hajar. I imagine he's been told to stay pretty quiet when it comes to any interviews, and I haven't seen anything yet. So yeah, that is a bit of damage. I have seen reported that they're not sure when they're going to get back out there again. Red Bull, they've used 2 of the 3 days for this week already. Tomorrow is supposed to be very wet. We will see cars out on track, no doubt. Probably McLaren and a few. Who else have we yet to see out there? Probably may even be only just McLaren tomorrow, because they've got 3 full days to still use, with Wednesday, Thursday, Friday remaining. Thursday, Friday is going to be very busy. So we could have 10 of the 11 teams with Williams not being there out on track on Friday. So looks like it ran out of talent there, spares truck. Well, look, you're not doing it right if you don't crash, right? In testing, you got to find the limit of that car. You got to find the limit of it. So Aston, no, they're there Thursday and Friday, or they're hoping to be there Thursday and Friday. And those mirrors are an Audi mandate. Anything to make the parts bin more pricey. The new generation of drivers will probably like these new features on the car more than the old one. Yeah, I agree. So I agree. I think it will benefit them. I think it's, as I said, the drivers just, it's exciting to see the drivers excited, and like that makes me really positive for this season. So yeah, hopefully it just, all of this translates to good racing and interesting racing for us. So that's kind of really it from testing today. There's not really too much else to add. Ferrari, positive steps from them. The car is moving in the right direction. It hasn't broken down yet. We haven't had a single Ferrari breakdown yet, or did we have Cadillac stop out on track the other day? I can't remember. But considerable amount of laps from Ferrari today. And also, I know people will say, oh, well, they want to practice in the dry. Of course they want to practice in the dry. But Ferrari haven't made a good car that runs in wet conditions for quite some time. It's always been a weakness of theirs. So, yeah, they will be able to get some feedback today on how this car that they've developed holds up in wet weather conditions. So, yeah, the first time that they say turn up to wet weather isn't going to be actually at a race weekend. It's here now. So that's also, you can see, as a positive for Ferrari and Red Bull as well, that they've been able to run in these conditions compared to the other teams. So it's not all negative being having a wet weather session. So what teams have Ferrari engines this year? So there are 3: Ferrari, of course, Cadillac, and Haas. Haas still use Ferrari engines, and Cadillac are using Ferrari engines until 2029. They were supposed to bring in their own motor from GM Motors in 2028. However, there is a bit of an indication that the engine regs may change slightly again for 2029, which is why GM Motors, that's the rumor anyway, that's why GM Motors have pushed back their initial joining of the engine supplier ranks from 2028 to 2029. But yeah, so that is it. Yeah, nothing else really to report today in that regard. Now, there has been some news about Williams. Now, if you are unfamiliar, where have you been? But Williams not turning up to this week. Loads of rumours around why they have not been able to turn up to the shakedown this week. And, well, there has been some updates. And Thomas Meyer, who is a journalist from Planet F1, He's quite reputable, I believe. And, well, Williams have moved or cancelled their planned physical launch of the car. Their car reveal on the February the 3rd, which is supposed to be next Wednesday. They have cancelled it, and it is now going to be a virtual-only event set for the same date. I actually saw that might now not even be a virtual-only event, and it might just be what Haas did and just posting the images on social media. So it might even be worse than just a virtual-only event, or a scale down, shall we say. So but doesn't bode well. But he interestingly reports he has heard that the chassis passed all relevant stress and crash tests in advance of Barcelona, and rumours of being overweight to any great extent anyway are wide of the mark. So that's very, very interesting information there, because the rumours have been they failed crash tests. They've had to solidify and shore up the chassis, which has added weight to the car, and some rumours as much as 20 to 30 kilograms overweight, which would be a tremendous amount overweight for the Williams team. That would lose them a considerable amount of time, with at least on average across F1, every 10 kilograms of fuel on board, or every 10 kilograms equates to 0.3 of a second of lap time. So that could be, if they were 30 kilograms overweight, that could be nearly a full second in lap time slower than their competitors. But it seems that the mystery deepens. The mystery deepens as to why Williams are unable to attend the shakedown this week. Because, yeah, according to Thomas Moyer, the chassis has passed all relevant tests, and the rumours of them being overweight, of the great margin that has been rumoured of 20 to 30 kilograms, are not factual either. So who knows at this moment in time? Who knows? Morning, Alan. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. Yeah, morning for you because you're on the other side of the world. Hope you're well, mates. I wonder how pressing the buttons during battles and overtaking will look. Will someone forget to press on off and make a total mess? It's going to be exciting. Yeah, 100% it will be, Dusko. Yeah, 100% it will be. I think so as well. I think, yeah, it's good. The wheel-to-wheel battles are going to be interesting when it comes to, obviously, all the tools at your disposal. Maybe there's too many. There's definitely going to be some fluffs, for sure. Your hopium theory, Mike, is that Williams have a double diffuser S interpretation of the rules and want to keep it well heading. Positive thinking. I like it. I like it. So, yeah, nothing else to add there in relation to Williams, but not good. Not looking good for them. We still don't know. I mean, changing from the fact of it, they're changing to a virtual event in itself, possibly just posting social media clips, is like, what's gone on there? That's just something else that just makes them look even worse, doesn't it? Like, what has gone on there? Are they genuinely hiding something? Do they think they've got this? Do they think they've created something and designed something that is an advantage over everyone else? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But then even if you have, right? Even if you have, you need to see that out on track to see if what you've developed can give you that advantage on the data. I don't know. I don't know. But exactly, Sid. They've been at it for 2 years. It's all been about 2026. They said earlier on last year they were the first team to openly say they've paused all development for 2025. It's full steam ahead for 2026. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It could be a simple logistical issue or like a program issue where they've just not got the car together in time. Something as simple as that. Like I work in construction, and look, there's delays always left, right. There can be delays left, right, and centre. But sometimes things through poor planning, through materials getting on site late, and maybe that's the case for Williams. Maybe sometimes it's just human error. They've just ordered some things have arrived late at the factory, and they haven't been able to get the car in a state for shakedown soon enough. And logistically, it just hasn't all worked out for them. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just saw that eventually, with all of the delays that maybe they've had. This is just me just spitballing here, by the way, guys. There's no actual basis in this, but I'm just saying this is maybe a possibility. But yeah, they've just gone, you know what? It's not worth it. I mean, of course, they want to make it. You'd want to make it, but to the shakedown. But look, we'll just stay back. So rather than go to the shakedown and have all the extra added stress and the car break down and whatever. So, is there any precedent for a team not having a car ready for the season? Is there a cut-off point? So I can't remember, actually. I think since I've been watching F1, which is still for quite some time now, we have had teams, Williams themselves were a team that were unable to bring a car to testing before. Brawn also were unable to bring their car to the first 2 days of testing. They only turned up on the last day of testing in the year that they won in 2010. But I don't know about a team not being ready to start the first race. At least not since I've been paying close attention to F1, which was probably like mid-2000s. So some of you, sorry guys, I'm calling you out here. Some of you are a lot older than me and you've been watching a lot longer than me. You'll be able to inform me whether that has been the case or not. But that was Isaac Hajar's crash today. Is that going to play again or not? There we go. You're twitching for the season to start having withdrawals, Alan. I know. Well, I will be here for the 3 full days of testing. The second week in Bahrain, we'll have full data, full broadcast ability. The first testing of Bahrain, first week of testing in Bahrain, we only have 1 hour per day, which is at the end of the day. So not really worth it, to be honest with you. I'm not taking time off work just for that, but I will be, just like I did last year, streaming all 3 days, all morning and afternoon sessions for the last week in Bahrain. More like with so many failed crash tests and reworks that they are actually running late producing the updated parts for 2 cars. Maybe Heraclea, maybe. MasterCard Lola in 97, arguably. 11 seconds off the pace, failed to qualify and exited the sport very quickly after. Williams got a substantial amount of money this year compared to last year. They should do well. Yeah, look, I mean, if they can make the 2 tests in Bahrain, they should be okay. They should be able to do what they need to do to start off the year correct. But yeah, I mean, you are starting behind because everyone has had this week, these 3 days that they're running this week, if they are able to run 3 days, to do all those systems checks and to squeeze a little bit more out the car than starting all of that at Bahrain. So, but I'm sure if they're able to get to Bahrain, they will be okay. They're a decent enough outfit. In James Vowles we trust, right? Surely he's not going to let that happen. So, but yeah, Isaac Hajar was the big news today. These cars, once again, just reiterating, absolutely stunning. I think they look so good on track. Is this, yeah, Max Verstappen with the number 3 on his car now. This is a really interesting design, but they've gone for the slimmer, like the slim side pods, the big, massive air intake that they've got, no doubt, to offset maybe the cooling, not the cooling issues, but the lack of space for cooling, which is going to increase, obviously, the heat that they have in there. Also, the V-carb has a very large air intake as well. So yeah, the 2 they have by far. We're yet to see the Aston Martin, of course, and the Williams. We don't know how large their air intakes are going to be, but it's definitely a conscious decision, I think, to offset what they've got here with the compact side and engine cover that they've got on the cooling. So wind tunnel hours will be key too. Yeah, of course. So the development curve is going to be very, very interesting this year. Very interesting. And in that car, I mean, this is my top livery, to be fair. I really do like this livery. I know some are not liking it. For those who are wondering what these yellow flashing lights are, you may be wondering where they have come from. They are the new additions of these visibility lights, basically. I think that's what they're being called, on the front of the rearview mirrors. So they will flash yellow, like you've seen there, for when they've gone off. Hazard lights in effect, and then they will flash red when it is raining, so that those looking in the rearview mirrors will have more visibility of where the car behind is, because at the moment there is only a light on the rear of the car. So yeah, I think I'm all for that. Any more opportunities for us to be able to race in the rain, that's what I'm looking forward to. Remember, go have a look. Just keep an eye out on that F1 video that they've posted today. Just have a look at the Rusatile of the spray. It's much more upwards. It's much more held within the footprint of the car itself. Not so widespread, and it seems that, of course, with the level of spray that is also pushed up is not as much as the ground effect era cars because of the lack of because there's no Venturi tunnels. They're running slightly higher off the ground, these cars, compared to the ground effect era, and the tires are slightly smaller as well than last year's. So all of that combined provides a smaller, thinner spray and less displacement of water, and should hopefully allow us to go racing this year in the wet. Fingers crossed. Your favourite is the Audi. It reflects their old GT3 and LMP cars. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like every time I see the Audi now, I'm kind of downgrading it. At first, I was like, yeah, I'm going to give that 8 out of 10. And then I was like, actually, 7. I feel like I'm now at a 6 or a 5. I don't know. I'm not sure I like it anymore. I really don't. The red, I feel like the red on the engine cover really needs like some sponsors on it to break it up a bit. It just seems odd. Yeah, it just seems odd that that's just like a block of red on the car. It needs some sponsors on it. So you hated delivery when it was released, but I'm starting to like it. See, we're in the opposite direction. I've passed you. I've waved you as I've gone past. You're up to a 7. I'm down to a 6. So yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to see if they do some special liveries though, because they can mix the yellow in there. They can mix it up, Audi, for sure. Surely they can. So I'm intrigued to see that. But the Ferrari comes out on top for me. I think the Ferrari, the Red Bull with the glossy look now, and the Mercedes are the 3 best looking cars. Now, we don't know what the McLaren is fully going to look like yet. We know what their testing livery is. It's like an all black shadow type livery. And we will see we'll see their car revealed next week. The livery reveal anyway. I imagine it's just going to be papaya, the usual. And then I am intrigued to see what Cadillac go for, and I'm so hoping, we've brought it up on stream before, I'm really hoping that they go and channel the yellow. I really hope they go for the yellow, because they have an opportunity, Cadillac, to stand out on this grid, because no one knows how their performance is going to be. I think many have low expectations for them, understandably, joining afresh as a brand new team, and no one on this grid has yellow. Even the Red Bull here has it's like an orangey yellow, isn't it? I'm going to bring it up again. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, someone did a concept livery of the Cadillac, and I would love this to be exactly like for like, for this to be the Cadillac livery. I'd be disappointed if they just go for like black and silver and something, because it's just not gonna pop, and it's not gonna make them stand out on the grid. So that's what I'm hoping for. So right, let's go on to this. So this was created by Chris Paul Design. He created this as a concept for when Cadillac were announced, and look at this. Oh my. Let's zoom out a bit. Oh my. Don't tell me you don't like that. Don't tell me you don't like that. That would absolutely pop on the grid. No? It's basically their LMDH livery, but do it. There's no yellow on the grid. If you want to stand out, you want to be noticeable on every single TV camera, every single TV angle, that's what you go for. So, reminiscent of Jordan, yeah, But I mean, that's synonymous with themselves anyway, because they've got the yellow LMDH cars. So, and everyone loves that car as well. Yes, you could go blue, but we've already got Alpine, we've already got Red Bull. Like, V-Carb's got some blue in it. I mean, blue, we've seen blue. Yes, you could go for pink as well. Sid, I saw you say pink. But then you've already got Alpine. Alpine's already pink and blue. And that's synonymous with that team. So if you want to stand out, you want to have an identity, go for yellow. That's what I'm hoping for. And then, yeah, you can do some special liveries, can't you? You could do the one-off liveries where you do a pink caddy. You do the blue livery or whatever. You mix it up, purple and stuff. But yellow is what we need, I think. Yeah, it's a colour that isn't on the grid, is it? In kind of any strong form since... that's what I mean. When was the last time we had an all-yellow livery? Renault, yeah, someone said Renault, but I feel like the Renault car, like, that was naff anyway. It wasn't a good livery. Cadillac, like, something like this would pop. But we'll see. We'll see. Black and gold would be nice. Yeah, black and gold, I like that. That's what my own liveries are on iRacing when I used to sim race. I don't sim race as much anymore. But yeah, I'd be accepting of that. But they've already got a good base with their World Endurance program. Stick to that. Use it. So, Dusko, wonder what the gaps will be. Will there be 22 seconds in a car? 22 cars in a second, or will the new rule separate them again like in the past? It would be good if there was latter overturning back markers like Sinner. There's undoubtedly going to be a field spread. I believe there's going to be some teams who get it very right and there's some teams who get it very wrong. And I think for the most part, obviously I'm hoping that at least 2 teams get it right. And we don't have just one single team getting it right and battling it out. What we want, and teammates battling it out. What we want is multiple teams involved. And yeah, I think F1 as well. I mean, we'll see. Is there going to be a sneaky advantage that they'll be able to find that will gain a massive advantage over the rest of the field? Of course, the teams will be looking for that, but time will tell. Of course, time will tell. If it is Mercedes and they've got this compression trick and they've been able to figure that out, well, McLaren have got a Mercedes engine as well. So if it is the Mercedes engine that dominates, I have faith that McLaren and Mercedes will be able to match each other somewhat, and they will be able to battle it out. Yeah, if it's Ferrari, I mean, if it is Ferrari, it's a big if. I don't know. Would they dominate? You'd like to think that then at least you'd probably have a Lewis and Charles championship battle, which I think would be interesting and very spicy. But I don't know. There's undoubtedly going to be some teams that get it wrong. Audi and Cadillac, I don't think anyone has much faith for them because they're brand new into the sport. Audi, yes, took over Sauber, but they're bringing in their own power units. So it's not like they're taking over. They're not a supplier. They're not a customer, sorry. They're not taking the Ferrari engine, which the Sauber used to do. And Cadillac, of course, have been built from the ground up as a team. So, yeah, Cadillac could be the slowest, but they're seeing it as a stepping stone. It's why they've gone for 2 experienced drivers to help drive the team forward. 2 experienced drivers who've come from the 2 most recent dominant teams in F1 over the last decade of Bottas in Mercedes and Perez in Red Bull with the ground effect era. So they're looking. They're not looking at the short term, they're looking at the long term. Of course, no one wants to finish last, but I think they'll score points. And I think just with how these cars are operating this year with the battery and as we touched upon as well, the driver's been able to make a difference more so than probably in previous years. That should hopefully mix it up a bit more. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited overall. That's a nice looking car. Great livery. Eddie Jordan will be having flashbacks, yeah. I think PPG is title sponsor for Caddy. Expect a wild colour for Caddy. They've got to do it. They've got to do it. And they're American as well. Like, you know, Haas have gone for the simple. They went for the simple white livery, didn't they? I know they've had like the American special liveries in the past at Circuit of the Americas and so forth, but then they have the Toyota influence. They've gone almost to the Japanese colours, haven't they? Just red, white, a bit of black in there. So yeah, go loud and proud, Cadillac. Go loud and proud. Max would benefit with back markers. He's a new center for me, most aggressive. Oh, yeah, that's one thing for sure is that Max will still be aggressive. He doesn't know how to drive otherwise. First year is all important for Cadillac, and even if they get a point or two, it's an achievement for them. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And on that note, guys, we are going to end it there. A bit much of a shorter stream than it was yesterday because we had fewer cars out on track and there wasn't really much to discuss. Isaac Hajar crashed, of course. Max Verstappen got some important laps in, as did Ferrari. And really the story, once again, is how reliable these cars already seem to be. Yes, they're not stressing the engines too much at the moment. It's all about systems checks. But as someone rightfully gathered the information of back in 2014 when there was a last change to the engine regs, we saw a fraction of the laps completed by the teams. We had multiple teams on the first day of testing not even set laps because of issues. And well, we've already had Ferrari, the engines overall in the form of in the back of Ferrari, in the back of Cadillac, in the back of the Haas, complete over 200 laps, over 250 I think it is. The Ford engine, a brand new partner in F1, Ford and Red Bull powertrains making their own engine for the first time away from Honda, and they have comfortably done over 150 laps as well, approaching 200. It's looking good already, and I don't know what the teams were worried about. They should have just let the media in and let them cover it rather than make them spy from afar on a mountaintop. But there we go. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, for another session, another review of the Shakedown, day 3. We will see McLaren for sure. I don't doubt that they will stay in the garage all day tomorrow. So we're going to see the McLaren for the first time. Still, no one knows what it looks like. We've only seen those renders, and we know renders are pretty taken with a pinch of salt, just like the lap times that we see in the shakedown and testing. But yeah, we should see more cars out on track tomorrow. It's supposed to be another wet day. We could very well see tomorrow just McLaren out on track. But we'll be live nonetheless to run through what we've seen. And look, the F1 news cycle never stops. I'm sure there'll be, maybe tomorrow will be the day we actually find out why Williams aren't turning up this week. We seem to be getting closer and closer day by day to the real story as to why they aren't there this week. So yeah, we will see. But thanks as always, guys. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Das. Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Dusko, everyone. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you tomorrow for the review of day 3. Bye.